am Saturn, the sixth planet from the sun. I'm known by my ring by everyone. I am the second largest planet in the solar system. Please come sing along the land of teachings I've done. Hello guys! Hi! Welcome to our channel. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Saturn. Saturn is a gas giant just like Jupiter. And it's the second largest planet in our solar system. And it's the sixth farthest planet from the sun. And when you see how far it's away from the sun, it will be very, very huge digits. Due to that, it's very, very far away from the sun. So far that you would probably freeze one if there was a solid surface. But there's not, unfortunately. So you can't stand on it. So, why we know Saturn very, very well is just because of its rings. It's the second most recognizable planet after the Earth, which is really recognizable because it's big one. So that's about Saturn's rings. While you're looking at this diagram, you will see these two moons. This moon is outside the rings, this one is inside. These are called shepherding moons. They like make the rings not like start going on their own and then collide into the planet. So these moons are just like Saturn's savers and save it from the rings doing some mischief. So why they are called shepherding moons are they are like moons that, you know, shepherds, they take care of sheep, right? Let's just say that these moons are shepherds and the rings are sheep. So they're just guiding the sheep where they should go and where they should not. And that's exactly what the shepherding moons do. But without a stick. Instead, they use their gravitational pull also. And Saturn uses its own gravitational pull to drag all its moons, and including the example of the shepherd moons, to it. But not too much so it won't collide into this. Like one example that is in this diagram is this moon that then was being dragged by Saturn, like any other planet that is so huge. When they are so huge, they have large gravitational pulls and drags the moon inside their orbit. They tear the moon apart and they turn into rings, or it collides into them and gets destroyed. So if the Earth wanted any rings, first we will have to break our moon apart. And before we break our moon apart, we have to become large enough to have enough gravitational pull to tear our moon into a ring. And we really don't want that to happen. Or else we'll be walking smooshed on the ground. Because our bones cannot be in some such type of pressure. So that's the reason why the Earth does not have rings. How these rings form is either in two ways. Either moons that Saturn used to have that got too close to the planet and got torn apart, or asteroids collected from the asteroid belt or the Kuiper belt. But mostly scientists think the asteroid belt, because most of its moons do not look round like ours. So that just means look more like asteroids. So that just means that some of them are collected from the asteroid belt. And when those moons are when those asteroids are too close, they might hit into it, or they will just tear apart again like the other moon, like the moons, and then turn into rings. So there's two ways for a planet to have rings.
So the moon gets tear apart or the asteroid gets tear apart?
So Saturn's rings are made out of ice and
Dust and other debris.
And sometimes they can be as small as dust. And sometimes they can be big as mountains.
Or even 10-story buildings.
So that's to show how big they are. Now let's go to the moons.
It has only 53 recognized, but then soonly after they found 20 more moons, giving it the rank of 62 moons.
And they are still finding many other moons, but they cannot keep calling them moons. So we have to first check if they act like a moon, and then we call them a moon.
And we, in the olden times, we do not use that method. And before, when the famous Italian scientist and astrologer known as Galileo Galilei found Saturn's rings, he first said that Saturn is a weird planet and has arms. And then next, after like 2 more years, he said Saturn is still weird, but it has ears this time.
And it eats its ears periodically.
Hashtag make Saturn have ears again.
Hashtag make Saturn have arms again.
So now we have heard that Galileo Galilei did not know what Saturn's rings were.
So who finally found out that these were rings and not ears or arms? It was the same guy, but this time with a different telescope, because that time the telescopes weren't good enough to see them.
They were very bad telescopes.
So before we thought that there were stars, and we can all know that we knew about Saturn long time ago, before telescopes were invented, because we have seen many pictures of Saturn in lots of historical places.
And also Saturn is a naked eye planet, so you can see it with the naked eye. The planets that are in the naked eye area are Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and somehow Earth. If you look at the ground, you're seeing Earth.
Hey, I see Earth.
So those are the naked eye planets. So we could see them in the olden times. So Saturn is named after the Roman god of agriculture and the Greek god that had 12 children and 8 each one due to the rings and what they think about the rings.
So before, the Romans thought that Saturn was a star. Instead of it being a planet, everything that moved across the sky to them was a planet
Or a star. So here were the things to the Romans and Greeks of the planet: Mercury, Venus, Mars, the Sun, the Moon, Jupiter, Saturn. Actually, that's 8, but you added the Sun and the Moon. And where did Uranus and Neptune go?
Because those were found
A long time ago. And that discovery was made by William Herschel. That will be in another video.
So now let's talk about some of its biggest moons, or the interesting moons.
There's Titan, that may support life and is the largest moon, the second largest moon in our solar system. There's Rhea, the second largest moon of Saturn, and 60% of its atmosphere is oxygen. The remaining 12% is carbon dioxide, meaning we might be able to live there. And then there's Eclidus that has geysers
of water. Clear water, but with some traces of methane, of course.
Some problems with that.
But all of these moons have one thing in common. Even though Saturn is inhospitable,
meaning no human can live there, not anything else,
its moons still may have life.
It's still a mystery. So now we have learned that some of Saturn's moons may have life. So Saturn is also very recognizable, and it's a gas giant, meaning it's huge. It's the second most largest planet in our solar system.
And now here's another one. Remember in our Earth video that we said that the Earth is the most densest planet in our solar system?
Well, Saturn is the opposite. It's the most
lightest
planet
in our
it's so less dense that it could float in water.
If you could get an ocean as big
as all the planets in our solar system and you put Saturn in it, will probably float. Everything else will sink.
But
there's some exceptions with that.
Because Saturn is gas, remember? But if we could hypothetically do that, Saturn will float.
So now we have learned that Saturn is very less dense and the Earth is more denser than Saturn. Well, the Earth looks like just a little dot to Saturn.
But the reason why Saturn is very, very light is because it's made out of very light gases, which are hydrogen and helium.
And here's something, what if? What if Jupiter and Saturn collided? They'll make a huge planet that is so huge and hot that it can start nuclear fusion in its center. And then it will turn into a low mass star, where you can see it any other part of the solar system.
Even Earth. So if that happened, you have at least about 2 shadows, and
you'd probably have to get used to having 2 days. 2 stars inside one day.
So there's, the storms that Jupiter has, Saturn has some too.
And one is called the Great Hexagon Storm on the north pole of Saturn.
It's almost the shape of a hexagon.
That's why it's called the Great Hexagon Storm.
That's a handful. You can just call it the hexagon storm.
Now that's easier. So Saturn also has some wild winds like Jupiter.
So how this is somehow hexagon is because scientists speculate that there's a big tornado on top of it, on top of Saturn, which lots of air jets go around it and make those signs. That's what scientists speculate.
So that's what they think. Now, so Saturn has some huge neighbors. Jupiter and Uranus are their neighbors. Uranus is for another time. You should watch our Jupiter video,
so you can understand about Saturn's neighbor.
So that's one of its neighbors. And also Jupiter was found by Galileo Galilei. And Jupiter has rings, but they are faded, meaning that you can't see them actually very well.
Same as Uranus and Neptune have faded rings, but Saturn's rings are the ones that you can see. And sometimes Saturn is nicknamed the jewel of the universe. But we have found many other planets that have rings like Saturn.
Now, the reason why it looks like that is just look at this diagram. Now, tell me, how beautiful does it look?
And if you even look at the actual picture, you'll be mesmerized.
It's beautiful because of its rings. And those rings are made out of many particles. So now we have learned about the neighbors. Now we have learned that there's 62 confirmed moons. Scientists are still finding some more, and Saturn has many rings. Many. They are uncountable. Scientists are still finding more and more and more and more. But there are 7 very known rings, and they are the first row in there. There is
A ring,
ring B, ring C, ring D, ring E, and
ring F, which is the farthest,
and ring G. But they have recently found a new ring that they call ring H. That's huge.
So we have come to the end of this video. Thank you guys for watching. Kindly subscribe and ring the notification bell and thumbs up to watch more of our videos. Bye guys and have a happy day.